السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Inshallah, we will be beginning the 10th juz today. I hope everyone is doing well, inshallah. The weekend is almost over, and tomorrow, inshallah, everyone will be going back to work, school, or whatever the case may be, especially during COVID. But inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of everything. Before I begin, inshallah, just a few words I would like to share with you all in regards to the tartib of our classes. Very soon our classes will be moved up for Ramadan at least half an hour to an hour earlier, so the classes would either start at 5 or 5:30, so that inshallah when we finish there's enough time between the end of the class and iftar time for anyone that needs to prepare or whatever the case may be. There is talks of moving the classes up to even 4 o'clock, but inshallah if anyone has any suggestions or advice regarding these timings, please feel free to send those in, inshallah. But nothing is confirmed yet over the timings, but just be aware that the classes will be moved up for Ramadan. As always, the tartib will be Arabic recitation followed by an English translation, and then there will be the explanation tafsir along with it. And inshallah, if I can remember anything else, I will add those in as well. And as always, if you have any other questions besides the timing or just in regards to anything actually, feel free to ask those questions in the chat, or you may ask those questions via email, and I will get back to you as soon as I can, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعلموا أنما غنمتم من شيء فأن لله خمسه وللرسول ولذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل إن كنتم آمنتم بالله وما أنزلنا على عبدنا يوم الفرقان يوم التقى الجمعان والله على كل شيء قدير. And know that whatever spoils you receive, it is 1/5 that is for Allah and for His Rasul and for kinsmen and orphans and the needy and the wayfarer, if you do believe in Allah and in what we have sent down upon our servant on the decisive day, the day when the two forces encountered each other, and Allah is powerful over everything. So the decisive day where the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was sent down, this help was the help of the angels and the tranquility and the good news of victory. إذ أنتم بالعدوة الدنيا وهم بالعدوة القصوى والركب أسفل منكم ولو تواعدتم لاختلفتم في الميعاد ولكن ليقضي الله أمرا كان مفعولا ليهلك من هلك عن بينة ويحيى من حي عن بينة وإن الله لسميع عليم. Remember when you were on the nearest end of the valley and they were on the farthest one, and the caravan was downwards from you. Had you made an appointment with each other, you would have disagreed about the appointment, but it happened like this, so that Allah might accomplish what was destined to be done, so that whoever is going to perish may perish knowingly, and whoever is going to live may live knowingly. Allah is indeed all hearing, all knowing. إذ يريكهم الله في منامك قليلا ولو أراكهم كثيرا لفشلتم ولا تنازعتم في الأمر ولكن الله سلم إنه عليم بذات الصدور. And recall when in your dream Allah showed them to you few in number, and if He had showed them to you many in number, you would have been demoralized and would have disputed in the matter. But Allah saved you. Surely Allah is fully aware of what lies in the hearts. So these ayat are depicting the battlefield and the scene of Badr. So the Muslims, they camped at the side of the valley, which was closer to Medina. And as we mentioned before, it was a sandy place that was not suitable to camp for an army. For an army, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent down a rain, and this rain quenched the thirst of the Muslims and also made the sand wet, which enabled them to walk across the sandy area without having to slip. وَإِذْ يُرِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنَامِكَ قَلِيلًا ولو أراكم كثيرا لفشلتم ولا تنازعتم في الأمر ولكن الله سلم إنه عليم بذات الصدور. وإذ يريكموهم إذ التقيتم في أعينكم قليلا ويقللكم في أعينهم ليقضي الله أمرا كان مفعولا وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. And when at the same time you met each other, He showed them to you few in number in your eyes and reduced your number in their eyes, so that Allah might accomplish what was destined to be done. And to Allah all matters are returned. So there are 2 points that I should mention to you all. One, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created such circumstances so that the Muslims and the pagans had to face each other in a battle without a previous appointment made between the two. The Muslims, they thought they were just going to fight a small caravan, and instead Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had different plans for all the Muslims, and instead they fought in the Battle of Badr. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He supported them and helped them in this battle. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا لقيتم فئة فاثبتوا واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. O you who believe, when you face a group in battle, stand firm and remember Allah abundantly so that you may be successful. وأطيعوا الله ورسوله ولا تنازعوا فتفشلوا وتذهب ريحكم واصبروا إن الله مع الصابرين. Obey Allah and His Messenger and do not quarrel with each other, lest you should lose courage and your prowess should evaporate, and be patient. Surely Allah is with the patient. ولا تكونوا كالذين خرجوا من ديارهم بطرا ورئاء الناس ويصدون عن سبيل الله والله بما يعملون محيط. And do not be like those who set forth from their homes, waxing proud and showing off to people, preventing people from the way of Allah. Allah is all encompassing of what you do. وإذ زين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم وقال لا غالب لكم اليوم من الناس وإني جار لكم فلما تراءت الفئتان نكص على عقبيه وقال إني بريء منكم إني أرى ما لا ترون إني أخاف الله والله شديد العقاب. When Shaitan made their deeds look beautiful to their eyes and said, none of the people can overpower you today, and I am a protector for you. But when the two groups faced each other, he turned back on his heels and said, I quit from you, and I am seeing what you do not see. I am scared of Allah, and Allah is severe in punishment. So this ayah tells us how Shaitan persuaded the people of the Quraysh to attack the Muslims. And this persuasion could be through waswasa, whispering in their hearts, but the style that the Quran depicts here indicates that Shaitan actually appeared to them in human form. And this is supported by a narration of Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anh, that while leaving their homes, the people of Quraysh apprehended that the neighboring tribe of Bakr, who were their enemies, could attack their homes in their absence. In any case, Shaitan appeared to them in the form of a person that was well known to Quraysh, and he claimed that he, through his tribe, would protect their homes and their families against any attack from Bakr, and that they might safely proceed to their mission against the Muslims. إذ يقول المنافقون والذين في قلوبهم مرض غر هؤلاء دينهم ومن يتوكل على الله فإن الله عزيز حكيم. When the hypocrites and those who have a malady in their hearts said, the belief of these people has deluded them, and whoever places his trust in Allah becomes victorious. Allah is Almighty, All-Wise. And so the hypocrites, the munafiqeen, they saw that the Muslims had a small number, and this small army was going to face the huge army of the Quraysh. And they remarked that the religion of the Muslims had made them overconfident, but they would soon realize that the truth would overcome falsehood. ولو ترى إذ يتوفى الذين كفروا الملائكة يضربون وجوههم وأدبارهم وذوقوا عذاب الحريق. Only if you were to see them when the angels take out the souls of those who disbelieve, beating their faces and their backs and saying, taste the punishment of the flaming fire. ذلك بما قدمت أيديكم وأن الله ليس بظلام للعبيد. That is due to what your hands sent ahead, and that Allah is not cruel to His servants. كدأب آل فرعون والذين من قبلهم كفروا بآيات الله فأخذهم الله بذنوبهم إن الله قوي شديد العقاب. Their way is like the way of the people of Pharaoh and those before them. They rejected the signs of Allah, so Allah seized them for their sins. Surely Allah is strong, severe in punishment. ذلك بأن الله لم يكن مغيرا نعمة أنعمها على قوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم وأن الله سميع عليم. And all this is because Allah is not the one who may change a favor He has conferred on a people unless they change their own condition, and that Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. كدأب آل فرعون والذين من قبلهم كذبوا بآيات ربهم فأهلكناهم بذنوبهم وأغرقنا آل فرعون وكل كانوا ظالمين. Their practice is like that of the people of Pharaoh and those before them. They rejected the signs of the Rabb, so we destroyed them for their sins and drowned the people of Pharaoh, and all of them were wrongdoers. إن شر الدواب عند الله الذين كفروا فهم لا يؤمنون. Surely the worst of all the moving creatures in the sight of Allah are those who reject faith and do not believe. الذين عاهدت منهم ثم ينقضون عهدهم في كل مرة وهم لا يتقون. Those with whom you have entered into a treaty, then they break their treaty each time, and they do not fear Allah. فَإِمَّا تَثْقَفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْحَرْبِ فَشَرِّدْ بِهِمْ مَنْ خَلْفَهُمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. So if you find them in war, deal with them in a way that those behind them have to disperse fearfully, so that they may take a lesson. وإما تخافن من قوم خيانة فانبذ إليهم على سواء إن الله لا يحب الخائنين. And if you apprehend a breach from a people, then throw the treaty towards them in straightforward terms. Surely Allah does not like those who breach the trust. So these ayat are referring to a treaty that was made with the Jews. And it means that the termination of the treaty should be declared openly, so that the enemy may not retain or remain under the impression that the treaty is still intact. And it's not permissible to go against the terms of a treaty without such a clear declaration, unless the enemy has violated it openly and it is known to every single person, in which case any action may be taken without making a declaration. وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَبَقُوا إِنَّهُمْ لَا يُعْجِزُونَ. The disbelievers should never think that they have surpassed the divine punishment. Surely they cannot frustrate the divine will. وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِّبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ وَآخَرِينَ مِن دُونِهِمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَهُمْ اللَّهُ يَعْلَمُهُمْ وَمَا تُنفِقُوا مِن شَيْءٍ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يُوَفَّ إِلَيْكُمْ وَأَنتُمْ لَا تُظْلَمُونَ. Prepare against them whatever force you can, and the trained horses whereby you frighten Allah's enemy and your own enemy and others beside them whom you do not know. Allah knows them. Whatever thing you spend in the way of Allah, it will be paid to you in full, and you shall not be wronged. And we mentioned this before, the payments that are made to Allah, the qard that we give to Allah, the loan that we give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, its payment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will return to us, inshallah, will be given to us in Yawm al-Qiyamah. It will be given to us in Jannah. So think about it like this, right? A normal loan that we have nowadays, you have to pay it back as soon as you can. There's interest that comes on it, depending on where you live or however much it may be, and then after a few years you're paying more than the initial price of whatever you bought was, or whatever the loan was for. So similarly, the loan that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pays you back for more than what you give, or for more than what you gave in Yawm al-Akhirah. وَإِن جَنَحُوا لِلسِّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. And if they tilt towards peace, you should tilt towards it and place your trust in Allah. Surely He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. And these type of ayat that propagate peace are those type of ayat that we should always remember. In those cases where you meet someone that says that Islam was spread by the sword, or Islam is a very violent religion, these type of ayat are those verses that we should always remember, because Islam propagates peace, right? The first thing that we say when we greet another person is Assalamu alaikum, right? Peace be upon you. And as such, if a person is inclined towards peace, we should also be inclined towards peace as well. The only time where the Quran talks about war, talks about killing someone, are reciprocating the same type of behavior that the non-Muslims would do in the first place. There isn't a time or a place where the Quran says, wake up one day and then you cause mischief in the land, or you cause violence, but it's always wake up and spread peace, spread peace. وَإِن يُرِيدُوا أَن يَخْدَعُوكَ فَإِنَّ حَسْبَكَ اللَّهُ هُوَ الَّذِي أَيَّدَكَ بِنَصْرِهِ وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ. If they intend to deceive you, then Allah is all sufficient for you. He is the one who supported you with His help and with the believers. وَأَلْفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ لَوْ أَنفَقْتَ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مَا أَلَّفْتَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ أَلَّفَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِنَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. And united their hearts. Had you spent all that is on earth, you could not have united their hearts, but Allah did unite their hearts. Surely He is Almighty, All-Wise. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيُّ حَسْبُكَ اللَّهُ وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَكَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. O Prophet, Allah is sufficient for you and the believers who followed you. يا أيها النبي حرض المؤمنين على القتال إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون يغلبوا 200 وإن يكن منكم 100 يغلبوا 1000 من الذين كفروا بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون. O Prophet, rouse the believers to fighting. If there are 20 among you, you are patient, they will overcome 200. And if there are 100 among you, they will overcome 1000 of those who disbelieve, because they are people who do not understand. So the sense is that the disbelievers do not understand the reality of life after death, and all their efforts revolve around gaining the pleasure of the worldly life. And as such, they do not have the courage of sacrificing their lives for the betterment of the next life, because they do not want to die. They don't want. They want to keep living in this dunya. But as the Muslims, they are more courageous and they're more ready to lay down themselves in the path of Allah. So when the Muslims are martyred in jihad, they will have a much better life in the hereafter. And this is why you'll see many ahadith where Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, all of them were always ready to jump in the face of battle. They were all ready to sacrifice themselves for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were always ready to sacrifice themselves. الآن خفف الله عنكم وعلم أن فيكم ضعفا فإن يكن منكم 100 صابرة يغلب 200 وإن يكن منكم 1000 يغلب 2000 بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين. Now Allah has lightened your burden, and He knew that there is weakness in you. So if there are 100 among you who are patient, they will overcome 200. And if there are 1000 among you, they will overcome 2000 by the will of Allah. Allah is with the patient. ما كان لنبي أن يكون له أسرى حتى يثخن في الأرض تريدون عرض الدنيا والله يريد الآخرة والله عزيز حكيم. It is not befitting a prophet that he has captives with him unless he has subdued the enemy by shedding blood in the land. You intend to have the stuff of this world while Allah intends the hereafter for you, and Allah is Almighty, All-Wise. لولا كتاب من الله سبق لمسكم فيما أخذتم عذاب عظيم. Had there not been a decree from Allah that came earlier, a great punishment would have overtaken you because of what you have taken. So this taken is because of the ransom you have taken from the captives without an express permission from Allah, and a divine punishment might have seized you, but there was a previous decree from Allah that saved you from it. And the Quran doesn't mention details about this decree, but there are some mufassirin that have expressed different views to identify it. So some say that it refers that the decree that the ummah will not be subjugated to an all-encompassing divine punishment, especially because of a mistake in judgment. فَكُلُوا مِمَّا غَنِمْتُمْ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So eat of the spoils you have got, lawful and pure, and fear Allah. Surely Allah is most forgiving. And as the previous ayah was saying, one might assume that the ransom taken from the captives of the spoils acquired during the war are not lawful for the Muslims. But to remove this doubt, this ayah says that accepting ransom in the given circumstances was though improper, it does not mean that the amount so acquired is unlawful. So in fact, it is a part of the spoils acquired during the war, and it is allowed for a person to benefit from it. يا أيها النبي قل لمن في أيديكم من الأسرى إن يعلم الله في قلوبكم خيرا يؤتكم خيرا مما أخذ منكم ويغفر لكم الله غفور رحيم. O Prophet, say to the prisoners in your hands, if Allah knows any goodness in your hearts, He will give you something better than what has been taken from you, and will forgive you. Allah is most forgiving, all merciful. وإن يريد خيانتك فقد خانوا الله من قبل فأمكن منهم والله عليم حكيم. And if they intend to commit treachery against you, then they have already committed treachery against Allah, and in turn Allah has given you full control over them, and Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. And so that means if you embrace Islam wholeheartedly, the ransom you have paid will be compensated by Allah with much more valuable benefits, both in this world and in the hereafter. And as for this ayah, it refers to the sense that if someone from the captives pretends to have accepted Islam while he intends to deceive the Muslims, Allah will give him again in the control of the Muslims, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did in the Battle of Badr. إن الذين آمنوا وهاجروا وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله والذين آووا ونصروا أولئك بعضهم أولياء بعض والذين آمنوا ولم يهاجروا ما لكم من ولايتهم من شيء حتى يهاجروا وإن استنصروكم في الدين فعليكم النصر إلا على قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق والله بما تعملون بصير. Surely those who believed and emigrated and carried out jihad in the way of Allah with their wealth and lives, and those who gave refuge and help to the immigrants, both are close friends to each other. And those who believed and did not emigrate, ye have no friendship with them at all unless they emigrate. However, if they seek your help in the matters of faith, then you are bound to help, except against a people with whom you have a treaty. Allah is watchful over what you do. والذين كفروا بعضهم أولياء بعض إلا تفعلوه تكون فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير. Help and those who disbelieve are friends to each other. If you do not do so, there shall be disorder on the earth and a great corruption. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَهَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آوَوا وَنَصَرُوا أُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا لَهُم مَغْفِرَةٌ وَرِزْقٌ كَرِيمٌ. Those who have believed and emigrated and carried out jihad in the way of Allah, and those who gave refuge and help, both are believers in the truth. For them there is forgiveness and a respectful provision. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِن بَعْدُ وَهَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا مَعَكُمْ فَأُولَئِكَ مِنكُمْ وَأُولُو الْأَرْحَامِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلَى بِبَعْضٍ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. Those who believed later on and migrated and carried out jihad along with you, then they are joined with you. As for the womb relatives, they are closer to one another according to the book of Allah. Surely Allah is aware of everything. So these last ayat of Surah Anfal are going over the Battle of Badr, and some laws and some rules were laid out, but then those laws were abrogated in another verse afterwards. So in any case, some Mufassirin say that this ayah was revealed after Makkah was conquered, and it abrogated the rule that was mentioned before. So according to them, it means that the inheritance between immigrants and Ansar was due to the fact that the migrants had no blood relations in Medina, and when Makkah became a part of the Islamic State and most of the blood relatives of the migrants embraced Islam, the original principle of inheritance was restored, and according to which inheritance was based on close blood relations. In any case, the matters of war and the matter of inheritance is a very, very detailed and long and lengthy matter. Inshallah, some other time we can go over those rules and regulations when we have more time allotted to us, inshallah. براءة من الله ورسوله إلى الذين عاهدتم من المشركين. Here is a disavowal proclaimed by Allah and His Messenger against the mushriks with whom you have a treaty. Now this is the beginning of Surah Tawbah, the only surah which there is no Bismillah in the beginning. And in order for us to understand the ayah, it's necessary for us to note that the polytheists, the mushrikeen in Arabia, there were 4 categories as regard to the political relationship that they had with the Muslims. So number 1, those who entered a peace treaty with the Muslims for an indefinite time period. And the first ayah declares the termination of this treaty. But number 2, or ayah 2 rather, allows a period of 4 months for such people before the termination actually takes into effect. In other words, the terms of the treaty are allowed to be continued for 4 months only. The second category is for those who had a treaty for a specific time period and did not violate its terms. So the following verse, or verse number 4, directs the Muslims to honor the treaty up to the agreed period, no matter how long that time period may actually be. But after the expiry of said agreed term, it will not be renewed, and the disavowal will be operative. The third category is for those who had no treaty with the Muslims at all, and such people are again allowed a period of peace for 4 months, and this agreement will be made in the next ayah. The fourth category is for those who had a treaty with the Muslims but breached it on their own initiative, like the Quraysh. So these people, they did not deserve any sort of respite. But the disavowal having been announced in the sacred months, no war could be to be waged against them during this period, anyways. So in any case, the Muslims therefore directed to fight against them only after the expiry of the sacred months. We will go over this inshallah later on, but it will be explained. The basic purpose of this announcement was that the Arabian Peninsula, the base of Islam, had to be cleansed of polytheism, of shirk. So the mushrikeen have been given these different periods to think about the future and to decide whether or not they want to accept Islam or not. And if they did not accept Islam, they would be made to leave the land and live elsewhere. And if they did not abide by these laws, then there would be a war that would be waged. So since all of these rules have been clearly conveyed, to the 4 categories or to the groups of people, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam directed his Sahaba radiallahu anhum, namely Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Ali radiallahu anh, to announce to them that at the time of Hajj in the 9th year of Hijrah, it should also be borne in mind that the rules mentioned above are restricted only to the Arabian Peninsula. So in other Muslim states, the non-Muslims may live as minority citizens with all their civil rights safeguarded as long as they submit to the laws of that Islamic state. فسيحوا في الأرض 4 أشهر واعلموا أنكم غير معجز الله وأن الله مخزي الكافرين. So move in the land freely for 4 months and be aware that you can never frustrate Allah and that Allah is going to disgrace the disbelievers. وأذان من الله ورسوله إلى الناس يوم الحج الأكبر أن الله بريء من المشركين ورسوله فإن تبتم فهو خير لكم وإن توليتم فاعلموا أنكم غير معجز الله وبشر الذين كفروا بعذاب أليم. And here is an announcement from Allah and His Messenger to the people on the day of the greater Hajj that Allah is free from any commitment to the mushriks, and so is His Messenger. Now, if you repent, it is good for you, and if you turn away, then be aware that you can never frustrate Allah and give those who disbelieve the good news of a painful punishment. And the greater Hajj is the name of Hajj, as opposed to Umrah, which is referred to as the minor Hajj. إلا الذين عاهدتم من المشركين ثم لم ينقصوكم شيئا ولم يظاهروا عليكم أحدا فأتموا إليهم عهدهم إلى مدتهم إن الله يحب المتقين. Except those of the mushriks with whom you have a treaty, and they were not deficient in fulfilling the treaty with you, and did not back up anyone against you. So fulfill the treaty with them up to their term. Surely Allah loves the God-fearing. فإذا انسلخ الأشهر الحرم فاقتلوا المشركين حيث وجدتموهم وخذوهم واحصروهم واقعدوا لهم كل مرصد فإن تابوا وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة فخلوا سبيلهم إن الله غفور رحيم. So when the sacred months expire, kill the mushriks wherever you find them and catch them and besiege them and sit in ambush for them everywhere. Then if they repent and establish salah and pay zakah, leave their way. Surely Allah is most forgiving, all merciful. And as I mentioned before, we should really remember these ayat, because without context, without knowing the story behind these ayah, there are many non-Muslims who take just suppose this one single ayah and say that Islam is a religion of violence, commanding the Muslims to kill the mushriks wherever you find them. And really you will find many people who use this ayah and very similar ayahs in translation to prove said point. But with context, you realize that this ayah was only on an occasion where those mushriks breached the treaty. وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنًا ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَوْمٌ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And if any one of the mushriks seek your protection, give him protection until he listens to the word of Allah, then let him reach his place of safety. That is because they are people who do not know. كيف يكون للمشركين عهد عند الله وعند رسوله إلا الذين عاهدتم عند المسجد الحرام فما استقاموا لكم فاستقيموا لهم إن الله يحب المتقين. How can the mushriks have a treaty with Allah and His Messenger except those with whom you made a treaty near Masjid al-Haram? Then as long as they remain straight with you, you too remain straight with them. Surely Allah loves the God-fearing. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions a condition that so long as they remain straight with you, you too remain straight with them. And it means that even after the expiry of the term allowed for different categories of the mushriks, if someone from them seeks permission to remain in or enter Arabia under the protection of the Muslims in order to find out the truth and understand Islam, the Muslims should provide protection to him and let him listen to the message of the Quran. Then he should be allowed a place for safety so that he may think upon it and make a decision with a sound and open mind. كيف وإن يظهروا عليكم لا يرقبوا فيكم إلا ولا ذمة يرضونكم بأفواههم وتاب قلوبهم وأكثرهم فاسقون. How can they have a treaty while if they overcome you, they will not observe any bound or treaty with you? They want to please you with words of their mouths, but their hearts refuse. Most of them are sinners. اشتروا بآيات الله ثمنا قليلا فصدوا عن سبيله إنهم ساء ما كانوا يعملون. They have taken a paltry price for the price of Allah, so they have prevented people from His path. Indeed, evil is what they have been doing. لا يرقبون في مؤمن إلا ولا ذمة وأولئك هم المعتدون. They do not observe any bond or treaty with a believer, and they are the transgressors. فإن تابوا وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة فإخوانكم في الدين ونفسر الآيات لقوم يعلمون. Then if they repent and establish salah and pay zakah, they are your brothers in faith. We elaborate the verses for a people who understand. وإن نكثوا أيمانهم من بعد عهدهم وطعنوا في دينكم فقاتلوا أئمة الكفر إنهم لا أيمان لهم لعلهم ينتهون. And if they break their oaths after they have made a covenant and speak evil of your faith, then fight the leaders of infidelity, since their oaths are nothing, so that they may desist. ألا تقاتلون قوما نكثوا أيمانهم وهموا بإخراج الرسول وهم بدؤوكم أول مرة أتخشونهم فالله أحق أن تخشوه إن كنتم مؤمنين. Would you not fight a people who broke their oaths and conspired to expel the messenger, and it was they who started fighting against you for the first time? Do you fear them? But Allah has greater right that you fear Him if you are believers. Now, I should make another point to be mentioned here. The reason that we go over these ayat, the reason that we go over the tafsir of these verses, is so that we become more understanding of the Quran that we read, especially now that Ramadan is coming. There will be Taraweeh, there will be more Quran that we will be reading, inshallah, in our own time. But it is very, very important for us to know the background of these ayat, the context between these verses, so it never comes to a point where we start to doubt deen itself, to doubt our Islam, because the only time or the only reason a person starts to doubt his deen, to doubt his faith, is when they don't really have full knowledge of the ayat. And it's only after you have this full knowledge that you start to feel you start to feel actual deen, actual Islam. In regards to the more deen you learn, it never really suffices. What I mean to say by that is when you learn Islam, when you start learning Islam, right, there comes to a point where you realize that after all this knowledge, after all this learning that I've done, I've only dipped my finger into the ocean of deen, of knowledge that there really is. So similarly, we're not even close to what that analogy is right now, but it is a very, very good start for us. ألا تقاتلون قوما نكثوا أيمانهم وهموا بإخراج الرسول وهم بدؤوكم أول مرة أتخشونهم فالله حق أن تخشوه إن كنتم مؤمنين. Would you not fight a people who broke their oaths and conspired to expel the messenger, and it was they who started fighting against you for the first time? Do you fear them? But Allah has greater right that you fear Him if you are believers. قاتلوهم يعذبهم الله بأيديكم ويخزهم وينصركم عليهم ويشفي صدور قوم مؤمنين. Fight them so that Allah should punish them at your hands and disgrace them and help you win against them and bring relief to bosoms of the believing people. وَيُذْهِبُ غَيْظَ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَيَتُوبُ اللَّهُ عَلَى مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. And remove the rage of their hearts, and Allah relents to whomsoever He wills. Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تُتْرَكُوا وَلَمَّا يَعْلَمِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا مِنكُمْ وَلَمْ يَتَّخِذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَلَا رَسُولِهِ وَلَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلِيجَةً وَاللَّهُ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Do you think that you will be left alone while Allah has not yet seen those of you who struggle in jihad and never take anyone as their confidant other than Allah and His Messenger and the believers? Allah is fully aware of what you do. ما كان للمشركين أن يعمروا مساجد الله شاهدين على أنفسهم بالكفر أولئك حبطت أعمالهم وفي النار هم خالدون. It is not for the mushriks to build up the mosque of Allah while they are witnesses of their own infidelity. Those who are the ones whose deeds have gone to waste, and in the fire they shall remain forever. إنما يعمر مساجد الله من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة ولم يخش إلا الله فعسى أولئك أن يكونوا من المهتدين. In fact, the masajid of Allah are built up only by those who believe in Allah and the last day, and those who establish salah and pay zakah, and who fear none but Allah. So it is hoped that they are to be among those on the right path. So the mushrikeen, we mentioned this before, they used to take pride in serving the sacred mosque in Mecca. This ayah clarifies that the services of the masajid should only be for those who are sincere in their faith in Allah and in the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those who associate partners with Allah have no right to build the mosque or to serve it, because the service of the masajid is not an objective in itself. It is a means of the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if one does not recognize the true attributes of Allah and His oneness, the very purpose of building a mosque is frustrated. So we should remember this: the custodians of our masajid, many of us, we may look down upon them. We say that, all they do is clean the masajid, but the custodians of the masajid are held in great regards in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should also take it upon ourselves to give our time to the masjid, even if it means taking out time whenever we can, going to the masjid, cleaning whatever we can, giving in the path of Allah whenever possible. أجعلتم سقاية الحاج وعمارة المسجد الحرام كمن آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وجاهد في سبيل الله لا يستوون عند الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. Have you taken the serving of water to the pilgrims and the maintenance of Masjid al-Haram as equal to the acts of one who believes in Allah and in the last day and carries out jihad in the way of Allah? They are not equal in the sight of Allah. Allah does not lead the wrongdoing people to the right path. No, although they're not equal, but they are still very highly regarded in the eyes of Allah. It's not easy for us, or it's not possible, at least right now, for us to go out in jihad, but it is possible for us to provide water to the community. It is very easy and possible for us to do maintenance of the masajid. Even if we aren't able to do maintenance of Masjid al-Haram, we are still able to do such things for our local masajid. الذين آمنوا هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم أعظم درجة عند الله وأولئك هم الفائزون. Those who believed and migrated and carried out jihad in the way of Allah with their wealth and lives are greater in rank in the sight of Allah, and it is they who are the successful. Right? So how many times have you been, after Jummah Salah or after any Salah, the Imam or the one of the people from the administration say that, can we have some volunteers to do this or that for the masjid? But very rarely are people ready to help or to take out some time for the masajid. But we should remember that, we're not just doing this to help clean the masjid, or, it's not so that the people in the administration just, they wish something bad for us, or whatever the reason or whatever excuse some people bring. But we should do this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remember that if we are not able to do maintenance for Masjid al-Haram or fight in jihad or whatever the case may be, we are at least able to do some maintenance for our local masajid. يبشرهم ربهم برحمة منه ورضوان وجنات لهم فيها نعيم مقيم. The Rabb gives them the happy news of mercy from Him and of His pleasure and of gardens having an everlasting bliss for them. خالدين فيها أبدا إن الله عنده أجر عظيم. Where they shall dwell forever. Surely it is Allah with whom lies a great reward. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا آباءكم وإخوانكم أولياء إن استحبوا الكفر على الإيمان ومن يتولهم منكم فأولئك هم الظالمون. O you who believe, do not take your fathers and your brothers as your friends if they prefer infidelity to faith. Those who you have friendship with them are the wrongdoers. قل إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. Say, if your fathers and your sons and your brothers and your spouses and your clan and the wealth you have earned and the trade you apprehend will recede and the homes you like are dearer to you than Allah and His Messenger and jihad in His way, then wait until Allah comes with His command. Allah does not lead the sinning people to the right path. لقد نصركم الله في مواطن كثيرة ويوم حنين إذ أعجبتكم كثرتكم فلم تغن عنكم شيئا وضاقت عليكم الأرض بما رحبت ثم وليتم مدبرين. Allah has surely blessed you with His help on many battlefields, and on the day of Hunain, when you were proud of your great number, then it did not help you at all, and the earth was straitened for you despite all its vastness. Then you turned back on your heels. So after the conquest of Mecca, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came to know that some neighboring tribes like the Hawazin have assembled in a huge force to attack the Muslims. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he proceeded towards them, and a battle took place in the valley of Hunain. Hunain is a place about 10 miles east of Mecca. And the number of Muslims marching towards towards the enemy was 12,000, a number that the Muslim army never had in any other battle before. And so when setting out for the expedition, some Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they who always won in the previous battles, despite having small numbers, they said that such a large number of the Muslims, it could never be defeated. And so since this remark pretended to show their confidence in material resources rather than the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was not very fond of this. And so they faced a serious setback in the beginning of the battle, and a large number of the Muslim army was dispersed. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he remained firm along with some of the more devout Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and after some time the Muslims, they won by the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should always remember, even on Yawm al-Qiyamah, when a person is granted Jannah, that this permission or this grant is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, and not through the actions of a person's deeds. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, a person will be going to Jannah, but he will believe that his deeds are the reason why he is going to Jannah, and not the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will become angry with him, and he will begin to throw him into the fire until this person pleads, and he pleads on the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then it is through the help and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he is given Jannah again. ثم أنزل الله سكينته على رسوله وعلى المؤمنين وأنزل جنودا لم تروها وعذب الذين كفروا وذلك جزاء الكافرين. Then Allah sent down His tranquility upon His messenger and upon the believers, and sent down troops that you did not see, and punished those who disbelieved. That is the recompense of the disbelievers. And really we should remember that many times, in modern times, where we see that the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not descending, but many people make dua. Now there is a case that I should point out, that it is through the deeds of the people where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more inclined to accept or inclined to help. But it isn't just that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bases actions or bases His help through the deeds, but it is a very, very effective way. So suppose a person that hasn't prayed the salawat makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we want this to happen, we want violence to end here and there. But many of the cases, these protests that we may see in or parades or whatever the case may be, we see that the help of Allah isn't descending, but the people, the amal that they have when they're at home is quite contrary to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands. And so it isn't that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obliged to help the Muslims, but rather we are obliged to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثم يتوب الله من بعد ذلك على من يشاء والله غفور رحيم. Allah relents after that to whomsoever He wills. Allah is most forgiving, all merciful. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما المشركون نجس فلا يقربوا المسجد الحرام بعد عامهم هذا وإن خفتم عيلة فسوف يغنيكم الله من فضله إن شاء إن الله عليم حكيم. O you who believe, the mushriks are impure indeed, so let them not approach Masjid al-Haram after this year. And if you apprehend poverty, then Allah shall, if He wills, make you self-sufficient with His grace. Surely Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. قاتلوا الذين لا يؤمنون بالله ولا باليوم الآخر ولا يحرموا ما حرم الله ورسوله ولا يدينون دين الحق من الذين أوتوا الكتاب حتى يعطوا الجزية عن يد وهم صاغرون. Fight those people of the book who do not believe in Allah nor in the last day, and do not take as unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have declared as unlawful, and do not profess the faith of truth. Fight them until they pay the jizya, the tax with their own hands while they are subdued. So the prohibition of Hajj for the mushrikeen would have posed an economic problem, right? Mecca had no agriculture or industrial produce of its own, and the economy of Mecca was solely dependent on travelers, or not travelers, but the business of trade. So when the people from all around Arabia came to Mecca for Hajj, their trade flourished. So some people said that the prohibition might have adverse effects on their economy. So the ayah consoles them that the poverty and prosperity lie solely with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He would create other channels for their prosperity, and the Muslims should place trust in Allah. وقالت اليهود عزير ابن الله وقالت النصارى المسيح ابن الله ذلك قولهم بأفواههم يضاهئون قول الذين كفروا من قبل قاتلهم الله أنى يؤفكون. The Jews say Uzair is the son of Allah, and the Christians, they say the Masih is the son of Allah. That is their oral statement. They imitate the saying of the earlier disbelievers. May Allah ruin them, how far they are turned back from the truth. So the Jews, they hold Uzair alayhi salam in a high regard. And this was because he was a person who compiled the Torah after it was lost during the captivity of Babylon. So although most of them do not believe him to be the son of God, some of their sects, especially of those living in Arabia, they believe him as such. So the Quran refers to this certain sect with their certain belief. اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله إلا هو سبحانه عما يشركون. They have taken the rabbis and their monks as gods beside Allah, and also they have taken the Masih, the son of Maryam, as a god, and they were not commanded but to worship only one God. There is none worthy of worship besides him. Pure is he from what they associated with him. So this means that they treat their rabbis and their monks as gods, in the same sense that they invest them with the power of declaring something lawful or unlawful, and not only in their capacity as interpreters of the divine books, but on the basis that they have the power and the ability to make changes in the law and hold them, and these changes would become a divine law. يريدون أن يطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم ويأبى الله إلا أن يتم نوره ولو كره الكافرون. They wish to blow out the light of Allah with their mouths, and Allah rejects everything short of making His light perfect, no matter how the disbelievers may hate it. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. He is the one who sent down His messenger with guidance and the faith of truth, so that He makes it prevail over every faith, no matter how the mushriks may hate it. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن كثيرا من الأحبار والرهبان ليأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل ويصدون عن سبيل الله والذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقونها في سبيل الله فيبشرهم بعذاب أليم. O you who believe, many of the rabbis and the monks do not or do eat up the wealth of the people by false means and prevent them from the way of Allah. As for those who accumulate gold and silver and do not spend in the way of Allah, give them the good news of a painful punishment. يوم يحمى عليها في نار جهنم فتكوى بها جباههم وجنوبهم وظهورهم هذا ما كنزتم لأنفسكم فذوقوا ما كنتم تكنزون. On the day the wealth will be heated up in the fire of Jahannam, then their foreheads and their sides and their backs shall be branded with this is what you had accumulated for yourselves, so taste what you have been accumulating. إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم وقاتلوا المشركين كافة كما يقاتلونكم كافة واعلموا أن الله مع المتقين. Surely the number of months according to Allah is 12, as written in the book of Allah on the day He created the heavens and the earth, of which there are 4 sacred months. That is the right faith, so do not wrong yourself therein, and fight the mushrikeen altogether as they fight you altogether, and be sure that Allah is with the God-fearing. إنما النسيء زيادة في الكفر يضل به الذين كفروا يحلون عاما ويحرمونه عاما ليواطئوا عدة ما حرم الله فيحلوا ما حرم الله زين لهم سوء أعمالهم والله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين. Nasi is the postponement of months. It is nothing but a further excess and infidelity, whereby the disbelievers are misguided. They allow it 1 year and disallow it another year, so that they may conform only to the number of what Allah has sanctified, and allow what Allah has disallowed. The evil of their deeds has been beautified for them by shaitan, and Allah does not lead the disbelieving people to the right path. So the sense is that they conform only to the number or 4 sacred months, in that they observe the sanctity in 4 months during 1 year, but do not observe the identity of these months as prescribed by Allah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ما لكم إذا قيل لكم انفروا في سبيل الله اثاقلتم إلى الأرض أرضيتم بالحياة الدنيا من الآخرة فما متاع الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا قليل. O you who believe, what is wrong with you that when it is said to you, come out in the way of Allah, you turn heavy and cling to the ground? Have you become happy with the worldly life instead of the hereafter? So remember that the enjoyment of the worldly life is but trivial in comparison with the hereafter. So henceforth, the Quran has taken up issues relating to the expedition of Tabuk. And this subject is continued till the end of the surah, with some general other topics that are issued forth from the behavior of the mushrikeen. Or rather the munafiqeen. So Tabuk is a place on the northern border of the state of Medina. It is adjacent to Jordan, and it was the part of Syria that was ruled by the Byzantine Empire. In any case, till the end of the surah, this is what the context will be about. إِلَّا تَنْفِرُوا يُعَذِّبُكُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا وَيَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ وَلَا تَضُرُّوهُ شَيْئًا وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. If you do not march forth in the way of Allah, He will chastise you with a painful punishment and replace you with another nation, and you can do no harm to Him at all. Allah is powerful to do anything. إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه وأيده بجنود لم تروها وجعل كلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم. If you do not help him, it makes no difference to the Prophet, because Allah has already helped him when the disbelievers expelled him, and he was the second of the two while they were in the cave, and he was saying to his companion, do not grieve, Allah is surely with us. So Allah caused His tranquility to descend on him and supported him with troops that you did not see, and rendered the world of the disbelievers humiliated. And the word of Allah is the Most High. Allah is Almighty, All-Wise. So quite obviously, this is the reference to the migration of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and coming to know that the pagans of Mecca, they made a plan to assassinate him. Rasulullah, he sent forth to migrate to Medina along with Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. And they knew that the enemies wouldn't stop to chase him no matter what happened. They went to a cave that was in Mount Tur. Or Mount Thawr, situated at it was situated directly opposite to Medina. So they remained in hiding there for 3 days. So the enemies, they searched for him in all directions until some of them actually came up to the cave, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he got worried. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, consoled him by saying, do not grieve, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He caused a spider to weave its nest on the mouth of the cave. And when the enemies of Allah and the enemies of Rasul, they came and they saw that there's a spider weaved a web all around the cave, there was no way that the Prophet and Abu Bakr radiallahu anh were in there. And so they passed by the cave without actually looking inside. انفروا خفافا وثقالا وجاهدوا بأموالكم وأنفسكم في سبيل الله ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. March forth in the way of Allah, no matter whether you are light or heavy, and carry out jihad in the way of Allah with your wealth and lives. That is good for you if you were to realize. لو كان عرضا قريبا وسفرا قاصدا لاتبعوك ولكن بعدت عليهم شقة وسيحلفون بالله لو استطعنا لخرجنا معكم يهلكون أنفسهم والله يعلم إنهم لكاذبون. Had it been a gain at hand or an average journey, they would have certainly followed you, but the distance seemed too far to them. They will swear by Allah, we would have certainly set out with you if we were able to. They are putting themselves to ruin. Allah knows that they are liars. So this ayah refers to the munafiqeen, and they used to make many excuses pretending that they're staying back in Medina, for whatever reason or whatever excuses they made. But in reality, it was because they were hypocrites. عفى الله عنك لما أذنت لهم حتى يتبين لك الذين صدقوا وتعلم الكافرين. O Prophet, Allah has forgiven you. Why did you permit them to stay in Medina before the truthful ones could become distinct to you and you could be sure of the liars? لا يستأذنك الذين يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر أن يجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم والله عليم بالمتقين. Those who believe in Allah in the last day do not ask you to excuse them from jihad with their wealth and lives. Allah is aware of the God-fearing. إنما يستأذنك الذين لا يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر وارتابت قلوبهم فهم في ريبهم يترددون. Only those people ask you to be excused who do not believe in Allah and in the last day and whose hearts are in doubt, so they are wavering in their doubt. ولو أرادوا الخروج لأعدوا له عدة ولكن كره الله بعاثهم فثبطهم وقيل اقعدوا مع القاعدين. Had they wished to set out, they would have made some preparation for it, but Allah disliked their going forth. So He made them lag behind, and it was said to them, stay back with those who are staying back. لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا ولا أوضعوا خلالكم يبغونكم الفتنة وفيكم سماعون لهم والله عليم بالظالمين. And they had sent out with you, they would have added nothing for you but trouble, and would have run around in your midst seeking mischief against you. Still among you there are those who spy for them. Allah is aware of the wrongdoers. لقد ابتغوا الفتنة من قبل وقلبوا لك الأمور حتى جاء الحق وظهر أمر الله وهم كارهون. They sought mischief even earlier and tried to upset matters for you until the truth arrived and the will of Allah prevailed, though they disliked it. ومنهم من يقول أذن لي ولا تفتني ألا في الفتنة سقطوا وإن جهنم لمحيطة بالكافرين. And among them there is one who says, allow me to stay behind and do not expose me to an ordeal. Look, they have already fallen into an ordeal, and certainly Jahannam has the disbelievers encircled. إن تصبك حسنة تسؤهم وإن تصبك مصيبة يقولوا قد أخذنا أمرنا من قبل ويتولوا وهم فرحون. If some good comes to you, it annoys them, and if hardship befalls you, they say, we had already taken care of our problem, and they go their way delighted. So there was a certain munafiq who came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and sought exemption from the expedition of Tabuk. And his excuse was that he was known among his fellows for his extraordinary desire for beautiful women. And if he were to see beautiful Roman women, he would not be able to suppress his desire, and he would face a very big ordeal. And Allah says that he and his other fellow hypocrites are already in a big ordeal because of their behavior and their deeds. So this was the type of excuses that some of the munafiq would make. قُلْ لَوْ يُصِيبَنَّ إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا هُوَ مَوْلَانَا وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. So say, nothing can ever reach us except what Allah has destined for us. He is our master, and in Allah alone the believers must place their trust. قُلْ هَلْ تَرَبَّصُونَ بِنَا إِلَّا إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ وَنَحْنُ تَرَبَّصُ بِكُمْ أَنْ يُصِيبَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابٍ مِّنْ عِنْدِهِ أَوْ بِأَيْدِينَا وَتَرَبَّصُوا إِنَّ مَعَكُمْ مُتَرَبِّصُونَ. Say, what you are expecting for us is nothing but one of the two good things, martyrdom or victory, and we are expecting for you that Allah sends to you a punishment from Himself at our hands. or at our hands. So wait, of course we are waiting for you. قل أنفقوا طوعا أو كرها لن يتقبل منكم إنكم كنتم قوما فاسقين. Say, spend willingly or unwillingly, it will never be accepted from you. You have been a sinning people. وما منهم أن تقبل منهم نفقاتهم إلا أنهم كفروا بالله وبرسوله ولا يأتون صلاة إلا وهم كسالى ولا ينفقون إلا هم كارهون. Nothing has prevented their spending from being accepted from them, but that they have disbelieved in Allah and His Messenger, and they do not come to the salah except lazily, and they do not spend but without volition. فلا تعجبك أموالهم ولا أولادهم إنما يريد الله ليعذبهم بها في الحياة الدنيا وتزهق أنفسهم وهم كافرون. So their wealth and their children should not attract you. In fact, Allah intends to punish them with these in this lowly life, and that their souls should depart while they are disbelievers. وَيَحْلِفُونَ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُمْ لَمِنْكُمْ وَمَا هُمْ مِنْكُمْ وَلَكِنَّهُمْ قَوْمٌ يَفْرَقُونَ. They swear by Allah that they are from among you, whereas they are not from among you, but they are a people in fear. لو يجدون ملجأ أو مغارات أو مدخلا لولوا إليه وهم يجمحون. If they find a place of refuge or caves or any place to enter, they will turn towards it, running as unbridled horses. ومنهم من يلمزك في الصدقات فإن أعطوا منها رضوا وإن لم يعطوا منها إذا هم يسقطون. And among them there are those who find fault with you in the distribution of sadaqah. So if they are given something out of it, they are quite happy, and if they are given nothing from it, they at once get annoyed. ولو أنهم رضوا ما آتاهم الله ورسوله وقالوا حسبنا الله سيؤتينا الله من فضله ورسوله إنا إلى الله راغبون. That they were content with what Allah and His Messenger had given to them, and were to say, Allah is sufficient for us, Allah and His Messenger will give us more out of His grace when they so will. Indeed, we crave for the pleasure of Allah alone. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. The sadaqah are meant only to be given to the poor, the needy, to those employed to collect them, to those whose hearts are to be won in the cause of the slaves and those encumbered with debt in the way of Allah and to a wayfarer. This is an obligation prescribed by Allah. Allah is knowing, all wise. And this is the main ayah in which those who are administered to collect sadaqah, either it be the masajid, the administration, the staff, or whatnot. This is the ayah that allows them to take a percentage of the sadaqah that is given by the people. And it also goes both ways, or what I'm trying to say here is that the saying goes both ways, right? Where a person should only take from it, or those employed to collect them should only take what is needed, not so much so that you keep 70 and you give 30%, but rather it should be the other way around. In any case, this also means that the prescribed sadaqah or zakah may be given to a person who has recently embraced Islam and needs encouragement and financial support. So this ayah has laid down 8 heads in which the zakah may be applied, and the detailed explanation and relevant rules may be found in other zakah books as well. But the point that I want to make is there are some people that give sadaqah, or some people tend not to give sadaqah because they say that the workers in the masjid or the administration they're going to take it all. But rather it is up to you to be giving, and it is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to decide or judge whether or not they are breaching a trust between the people that are giving and the administration that are supposed to be giving it to those who are in need of it. ومنهم الذين يؤذون النبي ويقولون هو أذن قل أذن خير لكم يؤمنوا بالله ويؤمنوا للمؤمنين ورحمة للذين آمنوا منكم والذين يؤذون رسول الله لهم عذاب أليم. And among them there are those who hurt the Prophet and say he is just an ear. That is, he hears and believes everything. Say he gives ear to that which is good for you. He believes in Allah and trusts the believers, and is a mercy for those of you who pretend to believe. And and those who hurt the Messenger of Allah, for them there is a painful punishment. So some of the munafiqeen, they remarked that they could easily convince Rasulullah about their innocence because he gives ear to everyone and believes every statement made before him. So the munafiqeen, they thought that should do whatever they wished, and then make excuses before him, and then Rasulullah would accept them no matter what happened. So the answer given is that he listens to everyone, but he believes only in Allah and trusts only the true believers. As for the hypocrites who pretend to believe, he listens to them because of his merciful and courteous nature, but he does not actually trust their false statements. يحلفون بالله لكم ليرضوكم الله ورسوله أحق أن يرضوه إن كانوا مؤمنين. O believers, they swear by Allah before you so that they may please you, whereas Allah as well as His Messenger has great right that they should please Him if they are true believers. And really, Rasulullah ﷺ had a list of the munafiqeen that was kept in safekeeping, and he knew who were the hypocrites and who was actually true in their faith. أَلَمْ يَعْلَمُوا أَنَّهُ مَنْ يُحَادِدِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَأَنَّ لَهُ نَارَ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدًا فِيهَا ذَلِكَ الْخِزْيُ الْعَظِيمُ. Have they not come to know that whoever opposes Allah and His Messenger, definite for him is the fire of Jahannam, wherein he will remain forever? That is the extreme disgrace. يحذر المنافقون أن تنزل عليهم سورة تنبئهم بما في قلوبهم قل استهزئوا إن الله مخرج ما تحذرون. The hypocrites are afraid that a surah may be sent down upon them, which tells them what lies in their hearts. Say, go on mocking. Allah is surely to bring out what you are afraid of. وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ لَيَقُولَنَّ إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ قُلْ أَبِاللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ وَرَسُولِهِ كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And if you ask them, they will say, we were just chatting and having fun. Say, is it Allah and His verses and His Messenger that you're making fun of? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had reported that some of the munafiqeen had passed ridiculous remarks about Islam and Muslims, and when asked, they would reply that they were just having a fun chit chat and they're just passing these remarks in a humorous way, but they weren't being serious about it. لا تعتذروا قد كفرتم بعد إيمانكم إن نعفو عن طائفة منكم نعذب طائفة بأنهم كانوا مجرمين. Make no excuses, you became disbelievers by mocking at Allah and His Messenger after you had professed faith. If we forgive some of you who repent and believe, we shall punish others who carry on with their hypocrisy because they were guilty. المنافقون والمنافقات بعضهم من بعض يأمرون بالمنكر وينهون عن المعروف ويقبضون أيديهم نسوا الله فنسيهم إن المنافقين هم الفاسقون. The hypocrites, males and females, are all alike. They bid vice and forbid virtue and withhold their hands from spending in Allah's way. They forgot Allah, so He forgot them. Surely the hypocrites are the sinners. وعد الله المنافقين والمنافقات والكفار نار جهنم خالدين فيها هي حسبهم ولعنهم الله ولهم عذاب مقيم. Allah has promised the fire of Jahannam to the hypocrites, men and women, and to the disbelievers who shall live there forever. It is adequate for them. Allah has put His curse upon them, and for them there is a lasting punishment. كالذين من قبلكم كانوا أشد منكم قوة وأكثر أموالا وأولادا فاستمتعوا بخلاقهم فاستمتعوا بخلاقكم كما استمتع الذين من قبلكم بخلاقهم وخضتم كالذي خاضوا أولئك حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وأولئك هم الخاسرون. You are like those who were before you. They were stronger than you in power and richer in wealth and children, so they enjoyed their share from the pleasures of this world. Then you enjoyed your share as those before you enjoyed their share, and you indulged in evil as they had also indulged. They are the ones whose deeds have gone to waste in this world and the hereafter, and they are the losers. ألم يأتهم نبأ الذين من قبلهم قوم نوح وعاد وثمود وقوم إبراهيم وأصحاب مدين والمؤتفكات أتتهم رسلهم بالبينات فما كان الله ليظلمهم ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون. Has there not reached them the news of those before them, the people of Nuh and Ad and Thamud, and the people of Ibrahim and the people of Madian, and the news of the towns overturned? their messengers came to them with clear signs. So Allah was not such as would have wronged them, but they have been doing wrong to their own selves. والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر ويقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة ويطيعون الله ورسوله أولئك سيرحمهم الله إن الله عزيز حكيم. The believers, male and female, are friends to each other. They bid virtue and forbid vice and establish salah and pay zakah and obey Allah and His Messenger. Those are the ones whom Allah will bless with mercy. Surely Allah is powerful, all-wise. وعد الله المؤمنين والمؤمنات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ومساكن طيبة في جنات عدن ورضوان من الله أكبر ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. Allah has promised to the believers, male and female, gardens beneath which rivers flow, where they shall live forever, and good homes and gardens of eternity, and Allah's pleasure is above all. That is the supreme success. يا أيها النبي جاهد الكفار والمنافقين واغلظ عليهم ومأواهم جهنم وبئس المصير. O people, carry out jihad against the disbelievers and hypocrites and be strict with them, and their abode is Jahannam, and it is an evil abode. So the word jihad in this ayah covers any struggle to set them right. So it may be an armed struggle, which is exclusive to disbelievers, or an oration or debate or an argument to convince someone of the truth, which may address both disbelievers and hypocrites. An armed struggle is not meant against the munafiqeen. يحلفون بالله ما قالوا ولقد قالوا كلمة الكفر وكفروا بعد إسلامهم وهموا بما لم ينالوا وما نقموا إلا أن أغنامهم الله ورسوله من فضله فإن يتوبوا يكو خيرا لهم وإن يتولوا يعذبهم الله عذابا أليما في الدنيا والآخرة وما لهم في الأرض من ولي ولا نصير. They swear by Allah that they said nothing. Well, indeed, they had said the word of disbelief and had disbelieved after having accepted Islam and had intended what they could not achieve, and they have reacted for nothing but that Allah and His Messenger have enriched them with His grace. So if they repent, it will be good for them. And if they turn away, Allah will chastise them with a painful punishment in this world and the hereafter. And for them there is neither a friend on the earth nor a helper. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ عَاهَدَ اللَّهَ ومنهم من عاهد الله لئن أتانا من فضله لنصدقن ولنكونن من الصالحين. And among them there are those who made a pledge with Allah, and if He gives us wealth out of His grace, then surely we will give alms and shall be among the righteous. فلما آتاهم من فضله بخلوا به وتولوا وهم معرضون. But when He gave them wealth out of His grace, they became stingy about it and went back, turning their faces away. فأعقبهم نفاقا في قلوبهم إلى يوم يلقونه بما أخلفوا الله ما وعدوه وبما كانوا يكذبون. So Allah in turn put hypocrisy in their hearts till the day they shall meet Him, because they broke their promise with Allah and because they have been telling lies. ألم يعلموا أن الله يعلم سرهم ونجواهم وأن الله علام الغيوب. Do they not know that Allah knows what they conceal and what they whisper, and that Allah is all aware of the unseen. الذين يلمزون المتطوعين من المؤمنين في الصدقات والذين لا يجدون إلا جهدهم فيسخرون منهم سخر الله منهم ولهم عذاب أليم. Among the hypocrites there are those who taunt the believers who voluntarily give alms and have nothing but their hard earnings. Still they mock at such people. Allah mocks at them, and for them there is a painful punishment. So when Rasulullah ﷺ directed the Muslims to make generous donations for the expedition of Tabuk, every Muslim contributed to the fund according to his or her ability. So the munafiqeen were too stingy to contribute according to their means, but they passed ridiculous remarks against the contributors. So if a rich man brought a huge donation, they accused him of showing off. And if a poor person came up with a small thing from his hard earnings, they laughed him and made fun of his very, very small contribution. استغفر لهم أو لا تستغفر لهم إن تستغفر لهم 70 مرة فلن يغفر الله لهم ذلك بأنهم كفروا بالله ورسوله والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. It is all equal whether you ask pardon for them or do not ask pardon for them. Even if you ask pardon for them 70 times, Allah will never pardon them. That is because they disbelieved in Allah and His Messenger, and Allah does not lead these sinning people to the right path. فرح المخلفون بمقعدهم خلاف رسول الله وكرهوا أن يجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله وقالوا لا تنفروا في الحر قل نار جهنم أشد حرا لو كانوا يفقهون. Those who are left behind were happy with their sitting back to the displeasure of the Messenger of Allah, and they disliked carrying out jihad in the way of Allah with their wealth and lives. And they said, do not march in this hot weather. Say the fire of Jahannam is much more intense in heat. Only if they could understand. فليضحكوا قليلا وليبكوا كثيرا جزاء بما كانوا يكسبون. So let them laugh a little and weep a lot, this being a reward of what they used to earn. فإن رجعك الله إلى طائفة منهم فاستأذنوك للخروج فقل لن تخرجوا معي أبدا ولا تقاتلوا معي عدوا إنكم رضيتم بالقعود أول مرة فاقعدوا مع الخالفين. Then if Allah brings you back to a group of them and they seek your permission to march, say to them, you shall never march with me ever after, and shall never fight an enemy in my company. You are happy with sitting back the first time. Now sit with those remaining behind. So it means that if they seek your permission to participate in another battle after the Battle of Tabuk, then do not allow them to do so, because the reason is twofold. First, their eagerness for jihad is not reliable, and that they can betray the Muslims at any time. And secondly, they're opportunistic type of people. They show their zeal for jihad only when they can have, when they hope for, having a small amount of gain, where they feel that they can benefit out of it. So since their desire for the participation in jihad is devoid of sincerity, they do not deserve to be honored by it. ولا تضل على أحد منهم مات أبدا ولا تقم على قبره إنهم كفروا بالله ورسوله وماتوا وهم فاسقون. And never offer a prayer on any of them who dies, and do not stand by his grave. They disbelieved in Allah and His Messenger and died while they were sinners. So at the time of the death of Abdullah bin Ubay, the chief of the Munafiqeen, his son, who was a sincere Muslim, requested for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to lead the prayer of janazah on him. And the merciful nature of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted his request and led the prayer, because this chief munafiq, he was pretending to be a Muslim. So this ayah was revealed to forbid him from leading the prayer of a munafiq, after which he never attended the prayer of a janazah of any hypocrite. ولا تعجبك أموالهم ولا أولادهم إنما يريد الله أن يعذبهم بها في الدنيا وتزهق أنفسهم وهم كافرون. Their wealth and children should not attract you. Allah only wills to punish them with these in this world, and that their souls depart while they are disbelievers. وإذا أنزلت سورة أن آمنوا بالله وجاهدوا مع رسوله استأذنك أولو الطول منهم وقالوا ذرنا نكن مع القاعدين. When a surah is revealed saying, believe in Allah and carry out jihad in the company of His Messenger, the capable ones from you or from them seek your permission and say, let us remain with those sitting back. رضوا بأن يكونوا مع الخوالف وطبع على قلوبهم فهم لا يفقهون. They are happy to be with women who sit back, and their hearts are sealed so they do not understand. لكن الرسول والذين آمنوا معه جهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم وأولئك لهم الخيرات وأولئك هم المفلحون. But the messenger and the believers in his company have carried out jihad with their wealth and their lives, and for them there are good things and they are the successful. أعد الله لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ذلك الفوز العظيم. Allah has prepared for them gardens beneath which rivers flow, where they will live forever. That is the supreme achievement. وجاء المعذرون من الأعراب ليؤذن لهم وقعد الذين كذبوا الله ورسوله سيصيب الذين كفروا منهم عذاب أليم. And the excuse makers from the Bedouins came so that they might be allowed to stay behind, while those who were false to Allah and His messengers just stayed behind without even seeking permission. A painful punishment is about to fall upon those of them who disbelieve. ليس على الضعفاء ولا على المرضى ولا على الذين لا يجدون ما ينفقون حرج إذا نصحوا لله ورسوله ما على المحسنين من سبيل والله غفور رحيم. There is no blame on the weak or on the sick, nor on those who have nothing to spend. If they are sincere to Allah and His Messenger, there is no way against those who are good in deeds. Allah is most forgiving, all merciful. وَلَا عَلَى الَّذِينَ إِذَا مَا أَتَوْكَ لِتَحْمِلَهُمْ قُلْتَ لَا أَجِدُ مَا أَحْمِلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ تَوَلَّوْا وَأَعْيُنُهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ حزنا ألا يجدوا ما ينفقون. Nor is there any blame on those when they came to you so that you might provide them with a carrier that they could ride for jihad, and you said to them, I find no carrier to give you, went back with their eyes flowing with tears and grief because they had nothing to spend. إنما السبيل على الذين يستأذنونك وهم أغنياء رضوا بأن يكونوا مع الخوالف وطبع الله على قلوبهم فهم لا يعلمون. Blame lies, in fact, on those who ask you permission despite being rich. They're happy being with women who sit back. Allah has sealed their hearts so they do not know. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. And this is the ending of the 10th juz. We have covered over many of the battles in regards to many of the occasions that went over the Battle of Badr and the Battle of Tabuk and the state of the Munafiqeen at the time. They would just about make any sort of excuses to run away from battle, but rather they should know that it is towards the battle that they should be running. And as we explained before, that the reward that is for a mujahid or martyr is far greater than any reward a person could have ever gotten while being alive. So this is the difference between the Muslims and the disbelievers. Well, and this is how it was possible for, besides quite obviously the help of Allah, but in the sense that the Muslims, for them, if they died in the path of Allah, they knew that in the Akhirah they would be rewarded way more. While the disbelievers, they knew that if they died, they would have nothing. And so they wouldn't fight. They would only fight in a reluctant manner, meaning that their life was on the line. There was no next afterwards. But for the Muslims, they were able to lay down everything that they had, everything that they owned. This is how and why they're able to give every single penny that they own. They're able to lay down their life as many times as needed. This is the difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslim. And we should realize this fact as well, because nowadays it's as if we have completely forgotten about the fact of the Akhirah, that we're never able to sacrifice anything for ourselves or for others, rather. And we believe or we start to act or we live as if there is no Akhirah. And we should really take heed and remember this fact. In any case, this is all it for today. Inshallah, I will see you all tomorrow. Jazakallah khair for attending today's class. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of your efforts. Inshallah, tomorrow we will continue on from Ya'tadiruna, from juz number 11. Once again, the classes will be starting a little bit sooner. Whenever that date or whenever the time is confirmed, I will let you all know. And before I let you all go, please remember to do one thing. If you do feel like this is a very beneficial class, or at least somewhat beneficial, and you know some people that have some spare time in their hands, please give them the link, share with them, share with whoever you may be. Do your part, inshallah. And inshallah, you will be rewarded as well for whatever they listen or whatever they learn. Once again, Jazakallah khair, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.